Since it's Halloween, I thought it was only natural that I review something that fits the season of the spooks, and what better game to cover than the one that started it all, the game that popularized the survival horror genre, Resident Evil. And since I've reviewed the Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3 remakes, it's time to finally review the Resident Evil remake. But first, if you end up liking this video, please leave a like and subscribe, and also let me suit up to my S.T.A.R.S uniform and get ready to fight the living dead. Well, that's what I'm talking about. Let's rock, baby!
見つめ合う瞬間感じたのは永遠もどかしいぜこのディスタンス閉ざさないでそのまぶたに隠された瞬きのない愛をくれよ止められないこの想い時が止まっても抱きしめたい折れるほど爪痕は消えない
Released on the GameCube back in 2002, a remake of the original PlayStation classic, this game, in my opinion, is a true remake. Heck, it's the perfect remake. I'm not even gonna mince words. If you go to a dictionary and look at the definition of remake, all you're gonna see is a picture of this game. That's just how good it is. It keeps the fixed camera perspective and gameplay of the original, but they added enough things to keep it fresh. A revamped map, new placements, new items, new puzzles, but still the same story. Kind of. It's kinda lacking on the Jill sandwich department.
Jill, you in there?
Barry? Get me out of here! The door's jammed!
Stand back! Grab my hand!
You might be thinking, if the game adopts the fixed camera angles of the original, then that only means the control scheme is the same, and you know how everyone loves tank controls.
Disgusting!
Kidding aside, tank controls aren't for everyone, and for people that doesn't know what tank controls are, it's a control scheme usually found in older 3D games like Resident Evil, Silent Hill, and Alone in the Dark. Like the name says, you control the player character like a tank, in which holding up or down makes a character move forward or backwards relative to the direction the character itself is facing, instead of moving in the direction based on the position of the camera, which is the norm in modern 3D games. Pressing left and right will rotate the character in that direction instead of actually moving left and right. Now, this may sound like a restrictive control scheme that offers a lot of awkward movement, but hardware limitations back in the day forced the developers to use pre-rendered backgrounds, images placed on a blank 3D environment to give the illusion of being in a detailed 3D space with predetermined camera angles, instead of having a controllable camera to cut the processing power needed to run the game. Tank control solves the problem of moving the player character from one camera angle to the next without having any awkward inputs due to the camera constantly changing perspectives. You can just hold up and your character will move in that direction regardless of where the camera is positioned. To anyone who's been turned off by the control scheme, the remake includes an option to use a more modern 3D control where the character moves in the direction your sticks are pointing. Although you're probably gonna experience a lot of awkward transition between camera angles because of it constantly changing, especially during situations where there are zombies going after you. And there are lots of zombies that's gonna go after you. Especially the new kind of zombie that they added in this remake, which made people shit their pants. I mean, not me. Other people. These new breed of sprinting zombies are called Crimson Heads. If you kill the zombie without blowing its head off or burning its corpse, eventually it'll get back up, faster and stronger than before. These monsters really add to the strategy of traversing the Spencer mansion. You can't just kill every zombie you see even if you have a surplus of ammo, which you won't, because doing so may potentially make one room more dangerous than it was with just regular zombies. You can't just burn the corpses when you kill them either, since the lighter and the kerosene bottle each take up one slot of your inventory, and if you're not familiar with the inventory in Resident Evil games, it is very limited, having only 6 slots for Chris and 8 slots for Jill. And 2, there's only enough kerosene for a few zombies in the mansion, and like I said earlier, there are lots of zombies. You know how in Resident Evil games, all you had to do was go into the next room because the zombies will not follow you? Well, that may be true to this game to some extent, but that rule doesn't always apply to the Crimson Heads. Going into the next room will only slow them down. They'll soon violently try to open the door you just went through and follow you into the next room, along with other surprises, like sometimes playing dead and only getting up when you walk past them, or try to burn them. I think the combination of tank controls and Crimson Heads adds so much tension to the game. And you get the full experience if you use tank controls, plus mastering it and dodging Crimson Heads and Hunters is super satisfying. You really feel like you've mastered the game and you have no one else to blame but yourself. So if you hate tank controls, try sticking with it for a while. It may grow on you, but I understand that it isn't for everyone, so don't worry if you use 3D controls. This game is amazing either way. Other than that, the game retains some of the puzzles from the original and adds a couple of new ones, but they're mostly find the item to get another item, to open a door, or get another item, you know, the usual addicting gameplay loop that Resident Evil is known for. Enough about the gameplay, let's talk about how scary the game is. I've been a fan of Resident Evil ever since I played RE4 on the PS2, which is getting a remake eventually, so expect a review of that game too. Anyway, after RE4, I started playing the other games one by one. Of course, I started with the original Resident Evil on the PlayStation. I had troubles with the controls at first, but I adapted quickly. Anyway, my point is, I've played this game before, multiple times on multiple platforms, even the Nintendo DS port of the game, Deadly Silence, which I think is the best version of the original due to the addition of the Quick Turn, a feature the original did not have. But the remake still caught me off guard. The game's graphics back then was phenomenal. The smooth 3D character models perfectly combined with the beautifully detailed and dynamic pre-rendered backgrounds that also had dynamic lighting and animation that reflected realistically on the character models, along with the ambient sounds, really dials the uneasy atmosphere to 11. Like there's always someone watching you, or something dangerous is just around the corner that you'll only see when the camera perspective changes, and by then, it'll be too late and you're standing face to face with the undead. I'm playing the HD remaster of this game on the Nintendo Switch, and while the remaster isn't the best as expected of Capcom, with the pre-rendered backgrounds looking like they've just been stretched to match the new HD widescreen aspect ratio, the visual presentation of the game still holds up, more than a decade after its release. I may have made it sound like it's unfair, but the game never cheats. When you enter a room, listening closely will alert you of any zombies, even if they're obscured by the angle the camera is in. Even the boss battles are presented in such a way. Most boss battles in the game doesn't even have cutscenes beforehand. You'll just hear sounds of something approaching and you know you gotta get ready or run away, whether it be a giant snake or a giant spider. Which is why I think classic RE games are brilliant. They always give the player just enough information in order to strategize combat or simply traveling through the dark halls of whatever zombie-ridden building you happen to be stuck in. It's hard, but it's never unfair. If you fail, it's your fault. The game forces you to adapt, to be brave, to face your fears, overcoming all your obstacles until you have nothing else to be scared of. You start the game with dangerous creatures lurking in every dark corner, and you end the game switching that dynamic. You're no longer the prey, you are now the hunter, the most dangerous creature in the mansion.
You're alive. I was worried because I thought you were...
Start talking.
And speaking of dangerous creatures, RE2 had Mr. X as the game's looming threat, and RE3 had Nemesis. Resident Evil never had this kind of enemy before, but the remake added one that kind of fits the stalker role. Lisa Trevor. Although Lisa isn't actually scary, her backstory, which you'll find and read in notes in the game, is heartbreaking. Lisa Trevor is the daughter of George Trevor, the person who was commissioned to create the Spencer Mansion in the Arklay Mountains. You can actually see George Trevor in the game as a corpse, and his last words being an apology to his family for dragging them into this mess. Jessica, Lisa's mom, and Lisa were experimented on for years by Umbrella, especially Lisa since she's the first human to survive the virus that the evil corporation was working on, which left her physically and mentally disfigured. Lisa appears in the game as a boss, but you can finish the game without ever fighting her. The first couple of times you see her, you can just run away, and when you're forced to fight Lisa, you can instead push the blocks off the ledge of the room to open up a sarcophagus in the middle, which will reveal the remains of Jessica Trevor. Lisa will take the skull and cry out to her mother and jump off the platform into the dark abyss. The story of the Trevor family is one of the most tragic stories ever told in a Resident Evil game. Well, actually, in any game. Just a normal family that fell victim to Umbrella. Resident Evil is a very special game to me. It's a game that made me conquer my fears. I'm not as scared of zombies and spooky stuff as I was before because this game series taught me how to be brave, to push through adversity despite being unprepared or lacking in resources, to keep holding on until the end, and we may find ourselves victorious no matter the odds. And I think that's just something we need nowadays because of how hard 2020 has been for a lot of people. So if you're watching this, know that even after a night of surviving a dark mansion with scary monsters, the sun will rise again and we can rest easy. Oh, that's it. I finally finished reviewing every single Resident Evil remake. This video is a lot shorter than I thought because I really don't have anything negative to say about the game. The only flaws the game had is because of how it was ported to modern consoles, so I'm not gonna say anything about it since, you know, there's the modding community on the internet. There's probably a high resolution pre-rendered background version or mod of the game somewhere in the internet. I don't know, so it's not the original GameCube's fault. And I guess you can say the voice acting isn't all that good, but that's part of the charm of classic RE games. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they deliberately made the voice actor say the lines in a cheesy fashion. Anyway, that's it for the Halloween special of this channel. Is it even a Halloween special? Is it still Halloween? I'm not sure. And thank you for watching, and again, please leave a like and subscribe if you liked it, and I'll see you later.
Kill it, whatever it is!